Hi guys, it's Sarah Jane with a strong dose of medicine today. I know I'm not for everybody. My medicine is sometimes pretty dark and I go to places where people are not always comfortable to go. And it's been a long day today, again, one that I'm so grateful to have been here to experience and to support women just like me that have been afraid of their own shadows for way too long, that are finally finding the courage in their shadows, finding the courage and the resilience that's always been there to start telling a different story. So please don't flinch. Please don't move away. Stay with me. I promise this is going to be a short one today, but I just wanted to hop on here before I take some downtime and honor anybody that's listening to me that has ever had those crazy, scary, mad moments of wondering if the world would be a better place without you. Because today is Suicide Awareness Day. And as somebody that has always struggled with my own sensitivities, has had those moments of deep, dark depression, of wondering how I could get out of my own pain, and that it would be easier to just take the kitchen knife, and I did that at 16, and slit my wrists, and let the life force of everything that I was here in this one precious life to flow out of me. That suicide isn't an easy thing to do. And I realized that after struggling with my own demons, after spending a lot of my life obsessing about suicide and how I could find a way out, because staying in this body, staying in the life that I had, and I'm not saying that it was all bad. I had a great life. I had a family and my basic needs were met. But there was always this feeling of something's off, something's wrong with me. I'm intrinsically broken. And the pain was too deep to make it stay away for very long. And I was what you would call a functional depressive, functional autistic. I could do short bursts of, I'm fine, everything's fine, putting on a brave face. And it was a face that was unbearable at times. I was bullied at school. I didn't fit the people that I swam with in professional synchronized swimming. Were a lot older than me. The people that I modeled with were a lot older than me. And it would take every fiber of my being most days to just get across from one side of a room, one side of a supermarket to the other, without wanting the floor to open up and swallow me, because it would have been a relief. It would have been a relief to get out of this tension and this anxiety that was with me all the time. And I'm tired of us not talking about this. I'm tired of people avoiding that they're depressed, that they are struggling with anxiety, that they're struggling to find a way to function in a world that isn't always kind, that isn't always easy. And by the time I'm probably finished talking to you, I think the statistics are that in 800,000 people, and that's just in America alone. I think it's a lot higher in emerging countries, third world countries like South Africa, because the stats are just not there. But 800 people will die this year alone. And 1 in 4 people are just like you and just like me, where you feel that you're dying slowly on the inside. and that you're all on your own, and that it's easy to separate, that it's easier to cut yourself off from the outside world and stay by yourself. As many highly sensitive introverts know, it's easier to stay with your thoughts. And I remember that finally, when I tried on that fateful day over 15 years ago to take my life again in my 30s, at a friend's house that I could really trust, to end my life. And how grateful I am to be able to speak to you again, and how honored I am and humbled that I am here to tell this story, and not from a place of shame. There's so much shame in depression and anxiety. It's not a disease like cancer that you can go on a course of chemotherapy if you choose and have the cancer cut out and go through some healing and more radiation and do your lifestyle changes and say, I'm a cancer survivor. People don't talk about surviving suicide. They don't talk about surviving anxiety and panic attacks. And it's time that we actually start talking about this, because you're not alone. And it's okay to feel what you feel. And it's also okay to know that you're going to have those days when depression will be bigger than your why do I keep carrying on? Why do I get out of bed today? It's going to be there. But you're here to tell your story. And no matter what, if you have fought that dark demon, those shadows, and you're listening to me, you are your own champion. And your story matters. And for me, every day is a suicide awareness day. Because I see too many people coming into my practice, into my life, telling me that they can't go on, that they're just so tired, that they cannot even find a flame of hope, a little boost of energy to keep going like this. And that is the status quo of saying, you know what? I did get up this morning, and I am here to tell my story, even though there is the shadow of doubt, even though, as I spoke about yesterday, you can feel, because you know yourself and you know your body and you know that the storm is coming, and that the only way that you get to live another day and be the best version of yourself is to get out of bed and put one step in front of the other and do what you do best, even if that is feeling anxious or depressed. Even though you don't want to, you do it anyway. Because we are all inextricably connected into the agony and the ecstasy of what it means to show up and be human. Your story matters. And I was having one of those nights that I could feel was coming on. The restlessness, the irritation, this uncontrollable rage that was simmering just below the surface of my unconsciousness. I know when those days are coming, where I'm going to have to step into the eye of my storm again and stay there. I know that just as every good storm, there's something that needs recalibrating. There's something that needs rebalancing. And that it is bigger than us. And I was racked with those visual images of the dolphins that get slaughtered in Taiji every year, every hunting season. And no matter how many people pray, no matter how many people stay awake at night like I did, tormented on how that it could be even possible in this day and age that people do terrible things. It happens anyway, even if I'm racked with pain. And that if I'm no longer here to stand for that matters to me, that it's not okay for people to kill the sentients, the elephants, the dolphins, the lions, the birds, the bees. I can't change it in my own way if I'm not here to use my voice and speak my truth. And neither are you. You're not alone. And even though I talk a lot about going with the flow and letting go and breathing in love and all the ways that you can do that, I know that that is just a part of what it means to create a sense of freedom in all this chaos and confusion that's around us. It's just a small part. It's an important part, but it's not the whole part. And what I'd love to invite you into today is to notice where letting go just amplifies your anxiety. It amplifies your feeling of victimology, of hopelessness. And that's a learned hopelessness too. But notice where you could turn that inward, where you could literally look at, I'm no longer going to let go of this. I'm going to start letting in the feelings that are wrecking me with these feelings that are keeping me up. As this projector plays back my own stories, my own experiences of hurt and shame and blame and pain and separateness. And start allowing yourself to really get in touch with what is underneath that feeling. What's really going on underneath those feelings that you're not ready to let go, because there's nothing to let go of. It's about holding on to those parts that even for me in my deepest, darkest hours of spiritual madness, where I was just, God, could you just take me now? Could you just swallow me up and end my misery? That you can let yourself have those feelings and really allow your body to have a full sensory eye of the storm moment that shakes you to the very core of your being, and that allows your soul to unravel and gets you in a place where you know you have the breath left in you to live another day and stand for what you stand and speak your voice as only you can. And start to see, because I see it in your eyes, I feel it, I hear it in your heart, where you're glossing over and diminishing and dimming your life and light and saying, it doesn't really matter. Your needs are more important than mine. And as my client earlier was saying, everybody else is more important than me. This always happens to me. I'm willing to be the kick bag, the doormat. Because in that there is my sense of value, that I'm not worthless, that I'm not invisible. And stop shredding yourself in all the means and moralities and conclusions and lies that you've bought about yourself, that your life doesn't matter. And stop messing around. I don't mess around. Not anymore. This work is too important. And for me, if we're not willing to be brave enough to actually confront our demons and go into the depression or the anxiety or the not enoughness or the depths of despair and get in touch with what it feels to be truly in your aliveness. There will be moments when you feel like you're having petit mort, right? The little death, which is interesting because climax, the orgasmic climax of copulation in French is a petit mort, right? A part of you dies, but it's just a little part. And what if we could stop killing ourselves in order to create a life? How many people do you see that are living to die? Hi, Jody. Yeah. You know, my message, and I claim my message every single day, and it's strong medicine. It's to tell your truth. And I'm here to empower people to stand in their truth. I don't sell quick fixes. I don't sell magic pills. I don't often sell comfort in the broad spectrum of what it feels like to have a comfortable life. I sell the one thing that people want to gloss over, and that's their potency. That's their ability to heal their own bodies and to create a life that they know that they came here to live. It's your birthright to thrive, and yet it's the one thing that we would rather kill than receive for ourselves. And I want you to be your own medicine. But I can't make that happen for you. You have to choose it. And if you're one of those people that is the 1 in 4, that feels so weird and different and unlovable, that you'd rather stay by yourself and kill yourself slowly, I dare you in this moment, in honoring that I'm alive, that you're alive and you're listening to this, that you're getting out of bed every day and choosing a different way, even if it's 1 degree different from what you chose yesterday, because this matters to you. You have a story, you have an important message, and you have an important gift that only you have, that's unique to you, that nobody else on the planet has, and that it is in the connection of those deepest woundings and in the connection of what life can be from what is possible, that when you become your greatest champion, when you become your biggest cheerleader, you inspire somebody else to do the same. And that's the commitment. That's my commitment to you in the medicine that I am, as a truth teller, as a way shower, as somebody who sees through the struggle, that sees it in your eyes. I hear you. I hear your heartbeat, and I hear your message. And yes, there's darkness, and there always will be. Just like the moon and the stars need to know that the sun is going to rise, and that there is perfect flow in that predictability. So are you. You are the moon and the stars and the sun and the vital energy to make a difference in this world because of what you have experienced. Your PhD of your life experiences are what make you you. And the world needs you to live into that. So instead of looking at suicide as the unspeakable disease that has so much shame in it, I invite you to look at all the places where you're creating little pieces of suicide in your thoughts, in your feelings, in your attitudes, in your emotions, in your belief that you do not deserve to live into your legacy as you. And go from there. Go from there. And know that you're not alone. You know, one of the biggest things that I received out of my multiple suicide attempts and my not wanting to be here, wanting to have a body, not wanting to have a body, was how alone I felt in the shame and in the stigma that I had nothing but a beautiful life, and how dare I have those thoughts and feelings, that I felt alone and abandoned and that nobody got me, to know that I get you and you're not alone, and you're not going to be one of those 800,000 people that will take their lives because they felt so alone and so abandoned that they think death is the only way out. It's not easy to kill yourself, but it's easy to kill your dreams. It's easy to disappear little by little every single day under narcissistic abuse, where people have power over you because they want what they want. And it's time for you to stand up for yourself. It's time to start letting in the things you are afraid to ask for, rather than letting go. You have to empty your cup. I get that. You have to unburden. But until you know what you're burdened with, and let that in to your heart and into your body, and let yourself feel that through every fiber of your being, you can't heal what you don't feel. You just can't. So are you willing today to know that you're not alone? And get support. If you know somebody that is struggling with their own shadows, that are stuck in the fear and the shame and the stigma, reach out to them and just be witness to them being depressed or feeling the way they're feeling. And that there isn't any shame there. There's nothing for you to say. There's nothing for you to fix. It's just about holding space for that person who is deeply, desperately crying out for connection. And I'm so grateful that I had some incredibly amazing, sensitive friends that even though I kept saying, I'm fine, everything's fine, I'm okay, they could see where I was glossing over. And they supported me in my deepest, darkest hours of that, even though I was mortified and ashamed. There's no weakness in that. There's only strength. It took me a long time to realize that I had nothing to be ashamed about. I had nothing to lose. I had everything to gain in knowing how strong I was to be able to say, I need some help. And I think I really got that when I was strapped to a bed in a government mental institution called Townhill. There is no Zen there. There is no Om. There was just a lot of time and a lot of space to stare at a cracked ceiling and get in touch with my deepest, darkest shadow parts and have a good conversation with them. And I'm so glad that I did. Not the most exciting experience that I wish on anyone to be in any government institution, let alone one in South Africa. But you're not alone. And even in that place, I met incredible people and witnessed their stories and their strengths and their courages. And they were amazing people that I could talk to from a place of no shame, that really saw me. I think for the first time in my life, I felt seen, even in my agony. They held the space for me to fall apart so that I could unravel all the confusion and come back to my own heart, so that I could stay here today in honor of all the people that tried to end their lives and didn't, that are a beacon of hope and inspiration in their own medicine to tell other people that there is no shame and there is no striving for perfection, because underneath perfectionism is always shame, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. So no, you're not alone. Thank you for showing up and receiving me and my medicine and my invitation to you to reach out and touch somebody who feels untouchable, to share this with someone that perhaps you know may need to just have a gentle, loving reminder to know that they're loved and that their message matters, and to never give up. Don't give up on yourself, please. Every 40 seconds, someone dies by suicide. Could you, just for today, reach out to somebody and just tell them that you love them? And that could be a total stranger. It could be the armed robber that had me on the floor and a gun to my head in my bedroom 8 years ago, who I managed to find from the deepest depths of that moment of absolute terror for my safety and my child's safety, that even though I knew what they were doing was the best choice that they thought that they had available, just like some of us think suicide is the only choice left, that I could see the person that they came here to be and love them anyway. And I know that man's life changed that day I said that. But I also know that the gift of that was that I could love the parts of me that could be the murderer, that could be the thief, that could be the rapist, that could be the person taking the life of a dolphin or an elephant or a person, and love the parts of me that could be all of the things I don't want to see in the world as myself, the despicable me. And when that little voice arises, when the saboteur comes up, when the voice in your head says, like it did for me, and I had a husband who reinforced that by giving me a physical gun and saying, here's a gun, go kill yourself. That is not your voice, that is not your champion, that is not the voice that knows that you matter, that you're important, that you're valuable. That is just the saboteur who wants to have power and control over you. So can you give yourself an energetic hug today? And remind the parts of you, and they're probably the child parts, that never got to feel safe, that never had the caring and the kindness and the compassion or the safety to hold you in that moment of shame or fear of abandonment or neglect or abuse, that you have her now. That I see her and I honor her, and that I'm not going anywhere. Because that's a conversation that I have with myself many, many times a day sometimes. I'm not leaving you. I'm here, and together we're going to go where we need to go, even when it's frightening, even when it's scary, even when I don't want to go, kicking and screaming. To know that that's exactly why we're going. Because you matter. And I love you, and I honor you, and I see each and every one of you. Yeah, Jody. Yeah. I think we all have people in our lives that we know that have lost children or loved ones through suicide. And that there is some semblance of peace and alchemy that happens in that grieving process once we realize that we're not abandoning ourselves. So be your own champion. I love you. And I see you all. Reach out to somebody today and tell them that they matter. I think Quincy Jones said that the reason that the people that he signs in his record label succeed is because he empowers them with love and respect. So know, the love is always there, underneath all the other bits. Love is all there is, but it's an action. So tell me what thing you did in the act of courage and bravery today or in your life. Share your story and let me know. What one thing can you do today to totally commit to feeling into yourself, to feeling your aliveness, that you're awake, you're breathing, that you're here to connect like this. Thank you, Facebook Live. Thank you, technology. And I thank myself too for the parts that would rather curl up in a ball and be invisible, that get me to show up every single day and go out in the world like this and physically, because in doing so, perhaps I touched your life. Perhaps something changed because of this conversation. And because of that, I'll do it again and again and again, knowing that even if I never know what changes or whose life I've touched myself to the core because of you being witness to my own journey. And that in me, I see you. Love you guys. Mwah. Go be amazing, because you are.